everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in creating this denim bracelet featuring our Potomac's Microspacers as well as our new WaveTrio. Gather up your supplies, and if you happen to need to shop for any, look at the links below to check us out online. So to get started with my design, I have a size 12 needle on, some .006 Wildfire beading thread, and I'm choosing to use the green color. You can use green or white, I would suggest, in this video. We're going to be coming back on the project and adding the cup button clasp, so I'm going to set that to the side. I have here some of my WaveTrios in gunmetal, my Microspacers in my antique silver, 3mm Potomac Crystal Rounds in the metallic blue iris, 11O Seed Beads, and those are in the Miyuki Crystal Lab Full, and 15O Seed Beads in the Montana Gold Luster. To begin, I'm going to add one of my 15Os, one of my crystals, and then one and two more 15Os. Pick up an 11O seed bead, and then add one more of your 15O seed beads. You're going to let that all drop down next to your stop bead, and we're going to get ready to put on our first WaveTrio set as well as our Microspacer. We're going to be putting them all on at one time, and I want the WaveTrio, I'm going to go through the first hole or one of the outer holes from the arch section opening toward the arch section top. At the same time, I'm going to grab one of my Microspacers, and then I'm going to grab my next one of my WaveTrios in the opposite way. So I'm going through on the arch and then coming out through that opening. Let that whole thing drop next to those beads to start with, and we're going to decorate the sides. To decorate the sides, we're going to begin with some of our 15Os, and then we're going to spin back around and add in some 11s. I'm going to add 10 of my 15Os, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After those 10 are on, I want you to take your thread and needle through the top holes of the WaveTrio. So in this design, we're completely ignoring the middle hole of the WaveTrio, but it'll be covered with seed beads. Give a nice tight pull, and that pulls those seed beads right in there on the edge. Here then on the other side, I already have one of my 15Os on, so go ahead and pick up 9 15Os on this second side. 6, 7, 8, and 9. Once those 9 are on, you're going to go back through that last 15 before the WaveTrios, as well as the Microspacer, and then out through the first 15 on the other side of the second WaveTrio. So I've got my 10 beads now on both sides, and what I'm going to do is add some 11O seed beads as well. The 11O seed beads, as I add this grouping of 8 beads, is going to go around the side of my little almost hourglass looking here. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Coming out that first 15O seed bead, I want you to go into the last 15O seed bead on the same side, and then the whole way through your Microspacer as well as your WaveTrio on both sides. When I come out the other side, I also want to come out one of the 15Os. And then I'm going to add my 7 more, because I already have one of them on here, 7 more 11O seed beads. Once you have those 7 on, you're going to go through the 11 that sat kind of right there near the stop bead, through the 15, through the piece, through the 15, and out through the first 11O seed bead. That is one rotation on the design. After coming out this WaveTrio grouping with a Microspacer, you're going to repeat the start. So we're adding 2 15s, one of our 3mm crystals, 2 15s, 1 11, and one more 15. Again, we're picking up our next set of our WaveTrio through the open side. Add the Microspacer, and when you add the Microspacer this time, you want to make sure that the opening that doesn't have a crystal in it, the open side here where we're going to pop the crystal in, is at the top. Put on your next WaveTrio to hug around that Microspacer and drop it next to those seed beads that you just added. Again, then we're going to pick up 10 of our 15 seed beads, add those onto the needle, and after those are added onto the needle, we're going to go through the top hole. We're repeating then the exact same set of this start, adding in our 11 seed beads, our 15 seed beads, and you can go back again to that last set and look at that last step to continue building these and adding on to the design. You're going to continue this the whole length of your bracelet, keeping in mind that our cup button will add about 3/4 of an inch as we get to the end of the design. Once you're done through the first little section here, almost of that hourglass look for the denim bracelet, I want you to come out of the last bead here just like you would be continuing. And I want you to add your 2 15s, 1 crystal, 2 15s, 1 11-0, and then instead of getting ready and adding another set here, you're going to add 1 of your 3mm crystals, 25 of your seed beads, and so back through that 3mm crystal. Now, if you're using a different style clasp, like a lobster clasp, a push clasp, or a toggle clasp, you would add your wire guard and your clasp on now. Coming out of that 3mm crystal, you can see I've added the repeat of this, an 11, 2 15s, 1 3mm, 2 15s, and then we're going to sew through, coming out above the Microspacer. To sew through, I want you to go through the 11-0 and the 15-0, and then come out right after the WaveTrio. I'm going to pull that tight so you can see exactly how it looks there at the end. Coming out the top of the WaveTrio, I want you to add a 15, a crystal, and a 15, and go through the WaveTrio, as well as if you can on that same needle pass through the first 15 and the 11 after the WaveTrio. That's going to decorate just the top here, just slightly, with your crystal and your seed beads. And then coming out that 11 seed bead, you're going to repeat your basically spacer or connector. 2 15s, 1 3mm, 2 15s, and through to the next set. Coming through the next set, I want you to go through the 11 and the 15 prior to that WaveTrio. Out the WaveTrio. And as you come out the WaveTrio, add your 15, your crystal, your 15, through the WaveTrio on the other side. Through the 15, and through the 11. That follows it. As you're doing this, after each crystal, you just kind of want to make sure that it's sitting correctly and that the crystal is sitting right above. You're going to go down the whole way on the bracelet here, doing the top, and then we're going to come back and fill in the bottom, adding in our 15s and our crystals. When you get done the first side here, you're going to get ready to do the second side, and at the same time, we're going to attach the clasp. So coming out of my last bead here, I'm going to go in and add my 2 of my 11-0 or my 15-0 seed beads, my 1 crystal, followed by 1 and 2 of my 15-0s. Then I'm going to add 1 11-0 and go up through the back of my cup button. On the front of the cup button, then what I'm going to do is add 1 of my 15-0s, 1 crystal, 1 15-0, and come down through the other side of the cup button. When I exit the other side of the cup button, I'm going to add 1 of my 11-0 seed beads, 1 more 15-0, and that's going to bring me back to that starter bead there. Going to sew through that 15 crystal, the 2 15s, and out. That is going to be your connection for your cup button. Now I want to reinforce this so that way there's more than one thread going through it, and I'll do that after the fact, putting the needle on this thread, taking the thread end off and going through in the opposite direction and tying off the thread line. Going the opposite way now, I'm going to simply flip the piece over, come out through the 15, go through that WaveTrio, and go through and do that center line one more time, or that bottom line, that base line. As we do the base line, we're going to get out a couple more 3s here. Add in a 15, 3 millimeter, 15. Go through the next WaveTrio, through the next 15 and the 11, giving that a tight little pull there so it pops up, and then stringing through the design here. So going straight through that whole section, through the 11s and the 15s, out after that first WaveTrio, and then continue on. So once you're out that first WaveTrio, you're going to add your 15, 3 millimeter, 15 rotation on through to the next WaveTrio. Down that line that you've created with the seed beads and the crystals, the whole way till you get to the next WaveTrio. As you add in your 15 seed beads as well as your 3 millimeter crystal, you want to make sure to just give a tight little pull so your thread equals up and you're not pulling from one side or the other. I'm going to continue the whole way down the end, reinforce my loop, and then we get to tie off our thread and add in our crystals into that micro setting. Again, as you get to the end here and you're coming out your last couple beads, what you want to do is reinforce the clasp. Anytime you're at an end or a closure, you always want to make sure you at least have 2 pieces of thread going through that. This is always going to be where you have the most tension on the piece, is that clasp section, because you're constantly going to be accessing it to put it on and off. So I'm going back through that whole loop. And then what I'm going to do is go down through the crystal, out through the opposite end in the way that I came up, through the crystal and the silver and the 15-0s, down through the crystal. And then as I come into the project, I'll have the opportunity to just tie a knot off along the piece. So in I go here along the side, going underneath the bridge thread, tying a loop, sewing through that loop once and twice, and then pulling that thread knot tight. Once you get that pulled tight, I'd go ahead and do this one more time along the piece and then burn off that thread end. Usually as you pull the knot tight, you'll be able to then continue sewing through and hide that knot within the piece. One more time, going underneath a bridge thread here and through the piece, creating that loop, and then tying off the thread. Once you have that tied off, just give a nice little burn and burn the extra thread off the piece. As I go in here, I'm going to use my Crystal Artist pickup tool and some Loctite super glue, and I'm just doing a tiny dab, tiny little dab in that section there of the Microspacer, because you don't want the glue to come out the edge. I'll do about 4 at a time, and then I set the crystals into the setting, and these are an SS12, and they are the Montana color, and I'm setting them into the setting, pushing it down, and then moving on to the next. Dishing that off in the set, pushing that down. You can also use your pickup artist to try to put that in there and push it down into the setting. Nice and easy. Oh, I forgot to glue that one. That would be helpful. As I go in and add my crystals. Once you're done adding your crystals, your piece will be completed and you'll have an opportunity to wear this nice denim bracelet. Thanks so much for joining me in creating this fun denim bracelet. Remember, if you need any supplies, you can check the links below to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. I've done this bracelet in a couple different colorways and I can't wait to see all of your creations by posting on our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Remember also, if you want to, you can comment below and help out your fellow beading community, giving them ideas, color suggestions, or asking questions and hopefully getting some answers. If you want to and you haven't yet already, click that subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy your denim bracelet.